week's episode of the Low Downforce podcast, a four-friend Formula One podcast. However, we have two people again this week, myself, J9, and we have Josh on. We're missing Ben and Matt, but that's all right. We're getting into the Mexico Grand Prix review. And I got to say, this was just such a wild race. We're first going to get into our race ratings. I am actually rating this a 5 because it was so wild, but so disappointing. So number one, this race is beautiful. Just the whole setup, they did a wonderful job with the grandstands. I thought it was really cool to see, at least, on the broadcast, looking at the different grandstands when the track would come into the archway,
the stadium section.
I think that is so cool. I think that this is just really unique track overall. I thought that was just like a brilliant way to start it out from a visual perspective. But looking at the race, right, we had such an interesting lineup, and especially on that first lap going into turn number 2 or 4, that first big turn, we just had such a crazy race, and
that was awesome.
Max Verstappen going off, and then Hamilton going off later, and there were so many things that happened, and it was so exciting, and there were a lot of overtakes. There were a lot of like, oh my gosh, is this driver going to overtake the other one? And that was great. So like, if it just ended there, solid 9 or 10 in my book. But towards the end of the race, and we'll get more into it in the recap, with a virtual safety car, that pretty much ended the race. Like, we only had like less than one lap from after the virtual safety car, and there were so many key positions on the line that got immediately just done. Just the racing itself was done. And I know it's part of the sport, but that virtual safety car can go fuck itself, because I think it just impacted
I needed
so
that.
much. I think I was in front
Ferrari.
of the TV just crying.
It saved Ferrari. So I'm very happy with that safety car. Thank you, Carlos Sainz, still a Ferrari driver in all of our hearts. I'm giving this race a rating of 10. This was by far the best race of the year.
Crazy.
There was so much that was happening. There were so many overtakes. We had a little bit of everything. We had some driver contact. We had some going off the track. We had some mechanical failures. We didn't get a full safety car, I guess, but we got the virtual safety car. And you are right. It was building up to that awesome Leclerc and Verstappen battle for second.
Yeah.
Right at the end of the race. And then it was just completely nullified.
Like, take the drivers
we'll talk about
themselves
later, but
out of it. Like, take the drivers themselves. Like, it's just two drivers, right? It's not Ferrari versus Red Bull, Max versus Leclerc. It was just good racing and a good...
Yeah.
It was exactly what the sport should be. And then the virtual safety car messed it all up. And I think that was like the biggest letdown. And that's why I have to give it a 5. It was such a letdown. And it wasn't even on them. There were Piastri and Behrman were also racing. And so it was just like the pureness of the sport was just gone.
Well, before we get into all the debate, which you're already
I know, I'm
getting
just
into,
so excited because
let me just go through the race recap to fill everyone in. If you missed any of the race, Lando Norris won the race, and by the largest margin of any race this season, by the way.
Yeah.
So he absolutely dominated. Charles Leclerc, like we just said, second. Verstappen third after that VSC prevented him from getting back up in second. Oliver Behrman fourth, his best finish of his career. And Haas's, I think, tied best finish in a while. Piastri fifth, Antonelli sixth, Russell seventh, Lewis Hamilton eighth after a 10-second penalty for part of his battle with Verstappen early on. Esteban Ocon 9th, Gabriel Bortoleto 10th. Sainz had a 5-second penalty and later a drive-through, and like we said, he crashed out at the end of the race. So he was classified because he finished enough laps, but he did not finish the race. Lawson retired from damage, and then Alonso and Hulkenberg both had mechanical failures and had to retire their cars. But there was a lot of racing. Like you said at the beginning, it was a battle between Norris, Leclerc, Hamilton, and Verstappen all in that first lap. And it was crazy. Verstappen and Hamilton didn't make the first corner. They went off like into the grass, and it was a mess. But just a racing incident. Later on, Hamilton and Verstappen were fighting, and Hamilton got a 10-second penalty for I forget exactly what, but
it wasn't that he went off of the track into the grass, right? That would have been similar to Verstappen's, and that would have been a racing incident. But because he did it like on that turn and in the grass, there was like, I'm forgetting the exact term of it, but
like a
it was
escape road. Yeah,
escape road that he should have taken, and he didn't. He went straight into the grass even further and got back on the track in a different position, which someone could say that it still made sense. And from what Hamilton was saying, there was a way that the grading on that area wasn't going to work. And so in his perspective, it was the right thing to do. But obviously the FIA didn't think so. And I have many thoughts on that, but
the weird thing is, so the race director issued instructions about specifically at that turn how to leave and re-enter the track. But according to the FIA documents, he was summoned for two separate things on the same incident. He was summoned for alleged failing to follow race director's instructions, which would be not re-entering the correct way that they were told before the race, and also leaving the track and gaining an advantage. And according to the documents, there was no further action for the alleging to follow race director's instructions. And so he did get the 10-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, which he did technically do, I guess. So I understand it from that point, but I feel like
I just don't think it should have been 10.
Lewis wasn't really given any. Yeah, well, so that's the problem is the FIA rules, the 10 is the minimum for that. And it used to be 5, but that wasn't a strict enough penalty. So they upped it a few years ago.
I just feel like if they had just said like give the position back, that would have been
totally
different. Like why could it not have been that? And it had to be 10 seconds, which I thought was too much for the incident itself. Because Max technically did the same thing, and I would even argue that the way that they handled Max's was the correct way, and it was a racing incident. I just don't think that Lewis it didn't need to be that harsh, and I think that solidified him being further back into the pack when in reality he had a really good race.
Yeah, and I mean it ruined his weekend. He was going to be probably top 4 and ended up in 8th place. And he's been struggling all season, so he could absolutely use a nice result in the car, but not this time. And I guess it hasn't been any time this season. He's still Lewis Hamilton, the best driver of all time, still hasn't gotten a podium in a Ferrari. And Ferrari has had their struggles, but it is crazy because it feels like he keeps getting closer and things keep getting
I know. And then after that, obviously he waits the 10 seconds, and we're seeing Piastri come up from 8th, make a pretty big comeback.
Piastri was overtaking tons of drivers.
Yeah, so
because he had a horrible
start.
End
of the race, it was just Lando out front, and then Verstappen and Leclerc, and then Verstappen, and then Behrman and Piastri, and then we had my favorite part, and this is probably going to go into my flop later, was Mercedes in 7th and 8th trying to catch Behrman the entire time, and they're just like unable to do so.
George on the team radio is so funny.
6th and 7th, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was just George is like, I'm going faster than Kimi, please let me go. They finally let him go. He didn't do what he said he was gonna do. And then Piastri's right behind him, so he's like, dude, this guy's on my ass. Like, what do you want me to do? And then I just love how like Piastri overtook both of them.
The tire strategy was interesting because that was part of what went into it. Verstappen only did a 1-stop,
right?
And that was part of why he was able to fight towards the top, because I think almost everybody else did a 2-stop.
Well, he was like 10 seconds behind Leclerc, and then as we neared, the final 5 laps, he was within 1 second of Leclerc. Like, he made up so much fucking time.
Well, and I'm pretty sure he started on softs and had like a crazy long stint on the soft tires to be able to get himself to do the 1-stop, which was really good for him. And I'm surprised more drivers didn't try that. Like Oscar would have had a really good weekend if he had done that. I mean, there's obviously a lot of factors that go into it,
Yeah,
and Max Verstappen is the best driver on the planet right now. But yeah,
that's
it
true.
is crazy that he's the only
Everyone
one that did that.
still is behind that. And I think that that's what's
Yeah,
interesting is that we see McLaren, we see that they're great drivers. They are. McLaren's such a fast car, too. But we're all still sitting here saying Verstappen's still the best driver.
yep.
Without a doubt. There's no one who comes. I mean, I would say Hamilton comes close to him, but there's an age gap. So right now, I would say
Yeah,
Hamilton and Verstappen are the best in different
Hamilton
ways.
historically, I'd say is the best. Like he has the best resume of any F1 driver ever.
In different
But
ways.
Verstappen, I'd say, is the best right now.
So skilled. So skilled.
But
And
I
I
mean,
think we
it'll
saw
be
that
interesting to
throughout the race weekend.
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see next year with the new regulations. Everyone will have a new car. Nobody will know how to drive it. Whereas, like we've seen, like Lewis has struggled in a new car this year from where he was last year. Like everybody basically is going to be on a fresh start next year. So it'll be interesting to see who gels with the car next year. But
Yeah.
that's a discussion for later. We'll go right into our track takes, I feel like, unless there's anything else you had from the race that
Now you
you're not
start
going to
us
bring
off.
up later. I think F1 is rigged for Lando Norris because
Green
McLaren,
flag.
it feels like, first of all, McLaren have been favoring him like under the table. I said this a long time ago that like Oscar well, I actually said the reverse a while ago. When Lando was getting bad pit stops, they were just going to let Oscar run away with it so they could focus on one driver. The opposite has now happened. Oscar's team has kind of like all his races are slowly falling apart. McLaren made updates to Lando's car that Oscar didn't like, and they kept the development going for Lando's car. And they've kind of been doing everything that Lando wants, which I think he deserves because he's been at McLaren for so long. Like they should be building him the car. I mean, they need to build it for both of them, obviously, but it's hard to accommodate two drivers with such different preferences.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, to be quite honest.
Yeah, but like obviously Lando was struggling early in the year, which his struggling was like still getting podiums every race. And now Lando is like finally just back on it, seems to be doing great. And so I feel like McLaren have been slowly just favoring Lando for this back half of the season. F1, if that virtual safety car does not come out exactly when it does, Max Verstappen is going to get up into second and get more points towards catching both McLarens in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah.
And I think it was done very intentionally to allow Lando Norris to keep first and have Verstappen not quite get as many points.
It was the timing that was just ever so perfect.
Yeah. So is it actually rigged? Unlikely, but like we've seen some corruption in the sport before. Like who knows?
Yeah, I will green flag that out of anger, but also it just seemed so perfectly timed.
Also, I don't know if did we mention earlier that Lando like is leading by 1 point in the Drivers' Championship now? Like
that's crazy. And that goes into my track take as well. I think that earlier I had predicted that after this race, Piastri would be. Actually, I said over the next two races, but definitely this race would like give us a telltale sign that it was going to be Piastri. And I was rooting for not Norris. And then now obviously I got that wrong. But I think that this is leading us into official papaya rules are out. It's fully Lando.
Okay.
And Piastri is just not it. He's just not it for them. He's not their number one.
Okay, I'm gonna green flag the part that papaya rules are done. I don't know if Lando is still like.
You just said his car was engineered for it.
It is. I think I'm not saying Piastri is like done in the Drivers' Championship. I think they're gonna still flip flop a few times. Like Lando with pressure on him, I feel like is not a good driver. And now that he has the lead, like all the pressure's on him. Like he has to keep the lead. And I just don't.
What if the pressure just builds on both of them, and then Verstappen just like?
That would be amazing. I would happily root for that. That would be awesome. So I'll yellow flag it because I agree with parts of what you have. Not entirely though.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
All right.
Not too crazy.
Well, what's your top? We'll go there.
I have two. We talked about Lando plenty though, so I'm not going to do him. It's got to be Oliver Behrman. P4, easily his best finish. Crazy race from him. He was racing with Max Verstappen for like part of the race. He overtook Max Verstappen, which like even if you're not in a Haas, like that doesn't happen. Like nobody does that. So wonderful race for him. Held off Piastri at the end, like we were saying, and he moved Haas up in the constructor standings, which is huge. They haven't looked at the driver standings exactly, but I assume he moved up also. Yeah, he's tied with Lance Stroll now.
Haas definitely did.
He's tied with Lance Stroll in 13th place. Well, he's technically above because he has a better, highest race finish this season. So yeah, he moved himself up in the drivers. He moved the team up in the constructors. Ollie Behrman, like I feel like this was way more than you could ask for him in his rookie season.
I completely agree, and his family was on the side crying, as well as his girlfriend, and that
his dad was so
really
pumped.
touching. I know, it was so good to see. I would absolutely wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm gonna choose Verstappen on this, and I do want to give a shout out to Leclerc as well. But I think I think Leclerc had a really solid race and one of the best for this season.
Yeah.
He really held on to that second place and got well-deserved points. I do think that I have to give my top to Verstappen on this one. And I mentioned it earlier, to be so far behind in like 13 seconds going into, I don't know, the final 15 laps or so, and then just really light it up. And I love how his race engineer and his team was like, all right, you've got the tires, do your thing. Like, this is what you do.
Yeah.
Do you, bro? And he absolutely did that. To be able to come back within 1 second, and only, quite honestly, like a lot of times I can't look at sports and be like, well, if so-and-so had just done this, like, they would have won, because there's so many factors. But like, it's looking at a game-winning field goal and the guy missing it. And it was like, it's that dude's fault, like, it was the virtual safety car's fault for Verstappen not getting second, because he had the speed, he had the determination, the power, and it was done. And so I think that was probably one of the saddest moments of me watching a race ever. But I genuinely, I gotta give him tops, because who does that in a race and comes back by 13 seconds?
Yeah, he certainly was good. Who is your flop?
Mercedes. I just, we mentioned it earlier, having George Russell and Kimi trying to overtake Behrman in this situation where, and it was funny because my boyfriend pointed out as we were watching, Russell on the radio was like, first of all, I'm going faster than Kimi, so I have the speed. Second of all, we have a Haas in front of us and Ferrari, we can get them. Like, as if it's no big deal. And then, so he has all of this attitude and confidence, sure, towards it. He then was like, okay, let me overtake Kimi and I'll give the position back if I can't beat Behrman, right? Great. They switch, and what does he do? Not pass Behrman. Like, that was hilarious to me, because I'm like, dude, you talked for laps. And quite honestly, I think Mercedes delayed it a little bit too long. They should have had them switch earlier. But regardless, you put down Haas and then you can't overtake them. That to me is just funny. And luckily he did switch back, but he was so worried the whole time, being like, Piastri's right on my ass. Like, what the fuck do you guys want me to do? Do you want me, like, and they were like, you got to preserve some of your brakes. And he was like, I don't know what to do, man. So I thought that was such a flop. He again gave it back to Kimi, but I'm like, Russell, you just didn't do anything. You talked all this shit and then you had nothing to prove on it.
Did he ask his race engineer at one point if he should let the car behind him pass? I feel like he did, as like a joke.
Yeah. He was being
like,
so
no,
sarcastic and like with an attitude, and I'm like, Russell, first of all, I don't think you're good enough to be doing that. Second of all, don't
I hope he goes
put the other drivers down if you can't actually go beat them.
I hope he goes into commentary after he retires from racing because he is so funny. And he always
he is
like
funny.
makes comments on the other cars, like he's commentating from the cockpit of the car.
Yeah.
So I always hope he does that. I've kind of gone 2 flops. My first one, just Piastri, blew his lead. No longer leading the Drivers' Championship. Can't have that. My second flop is us in the Predictors' Championship because we scored a ton of points in the U.S. Grand Prix in Austin, collectively as a group. And collectively, we had one of our worst weeks. The Hungarian Grand Prix was our worst, where the 4 of us only got 1 point. Here, the 4 of us only got 4 points collectively, and it's because Matt got his hot take. Ben got his P10 for Bortoletto. Matt's hot take was 3 failed to finish, 2 are from mechanical failure, and he got exactly that, which I feel like is maybe one of our hotter hot takes to hit this season. Yeah, when he had said it during the preview, I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, this is so specific." And then it's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that was great.
But with that, I'm still in the lead by just 3 points now. So Matt, after one more hot take, would tie me. I have 43. He has 40. J9, you have 29. And Ben has crept up a little bit and has 27 right behind you. So there's kind of 2 battles we got going on.
For comfort. I need to pick it up.
Yeah, but there's not very many races left.
I know.
I think
when's our
we
next
have 4. I think like 2 weeks from now, we have Brazil. Yes. The 9th of November.
Right. And then we're back in Vegas.
Then we got Vegas, and then Qatar, and then Abu Dhabi. So we got 4 races of predictions to make.
Crazy.
But we are near the end of the season. It has been a crazy season.
It really
I feel like it's been a good, like, for a while especially, it was just like, oh, McLaren dominance, like, who cares? But now down the stretch, we're getting some exciting racing. So it's
very
good to
excited to see what happens in this Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, we will be predicting races the rest of the way. We will be giving you previews, giving you reviews after races. So keep tuning in. We'll have a preview next week for Brazil before that race. So stay tuned, stay speedy. Goodbye.